Hey guys, welcome to another 1 year later review. This time we're going to be taking a look at 2014's Architects album, Lost Forever, Lost Together. So the Architects are a hardcore metalcore outfit out of the UK. They had kind of hit a high point with their 2009 album, Hollow Crown. It was an album that kind of mixed mathcore with this hard metalcore style and brought a lot of melodic elements to it as well. And it just worked for the band, and it really was a high point in their discography. Their follow-up album saw them getting a little bit more technical. Their next album after Hollow Crown kind of brought in more hardcore roots to it. But they didn't really kind of do anything. They weren't really that memorable as albums. They weren't bad albums. They just really didn't quite make as big an entrance as Hollow Crown did. And it kind of felt like they were almost trying to distance themselves from Hollow Crown by bringing these different elements into their sound, whether it's bringing it back to a more hardcore sound or bringing in more technical instrumentals into their sound. This album really kind of feels like they've let themselves go from Hollow Crown. It brings back a lot of the heaviness from Hollow Crown. It also features a lot of the technicalities from their other albums that they released since then, also with the hardcore elements. It's kind of a blend of everything that they've done from Hollow Crown on. You have some amazing technical breakdowns on this album, some fantastic lyrics, the screams are just great on this album. It's not that they've kind of gone away from that mathcore sound that Hollow Crown had, and I hate that I keep mentioning that album because I don't want to tie a band to a specific album. I just think that that was really kind of a high point for the band. But this is a different album. It is great on its own right. I really think that compared to the previous two albums between Hollow Crown and this album, those were kind of like a slump for the band a little bit. Like I said, they weren't bad albums, they just never really came off as anything particularly memorable to stick with you. So how does this album in particular stand up a year later from what I felt like when I reviewed it the first time? This is another album that really does stand the test of time. I think, again, I still think it is their best album since Hollow Crown. It really feels like they've freed themselves from the reins of that album. They're not really trying to separate themselves from it. And the fact that they're not trying to do anything except make a good album really comes through here. There are still some songs that kind of don't do anything for me. Some of them kind of sound a little bit too generic as far as in the metalcore scene. They do, as I mentioned in the review, kind of lean a little bit more on the tropes of the hardcore metalcore genre. There's a lot of that sound to it. It just, there's some things that don't really work on it, but it is still extremely heavy. It's got a lot of technicalities to it. The guitar work is fantastic on this album. So overall, I'd say there's still a lot of songs I do listen to over and over. Particularly Gravedigger and Naysayer are two tracks that just have stuck with me. I think the pinnacle on it is Castles in the Sky. So as far as an Architects album, it is great. As far as a metalcore album, it really does hold up. It is something different than what other bands are doing. While it can kind of dip into that genericness and kind of sound like some other bands, overall it doesn't. It really does do enough to set itself apart and overcome any of those kind of flaws to it. So I would say a year later, this is still an album that I do listen to, and I really think that other people should continue to listen to and check out.